Let's talk about nested classes. You can open the nested classes folder in the object-oriented folder and follow along if you'd like. We're going to talk about nested classes which allow us to combine our classes, one class within the other, and you can nest them as much as you want to, of course. And we'll talk about the functionality of how things work. They may not work as you would expect. We'll take a look at our main class first. I've just collapsed everything. And basically we're going to instantiate an outer class, and that's going to just create a variable here that's going to hold our outer class, OC, and we just do that as normal. Then we're going to instantiate an inner class, and we'll do the same thing, but we're going to use the dot notation since one class is going to be the parent for the other class. And then we're going to instantiate our inner class, and what we have to do is use the dot notation, and that's going to allow us to say that we want to actually get a hold of the inner class there, outer class dot inner class, put that in the variable, and then new, same syntax really, except you're putting outer class dot inner class to get to that inner class in the correct way. Then we're just going to print out the outer class method there, and then the inner class method, and just put some spacing in between to let you know what's going on in a clear way. No big deal. So we'll just collapse this, and then we'll look at our outer class here first before we look at our inner class. The outer class here, this is going to hold a private variable here just for our outer message, just a message string. Then we have our constructor, which is going to allow us to initialize our class. Then we have an inner class. So we have a public class here referenced within our class, nested. Then we have our method to print. And then at the end we have something that's not so standard. We're actually going to create a variable here that's going to hold our inner class. We have this variable that allows us to reference the inner class and the members of the inner class. So we do that the same as we would anything else. It's a little strange though that we declare or we work with our class up here, the inner class here, and then we have to actually use a variable to get into it. But that's what you have to do. So when we have our print, this is actually going to print the inner message. No big deal, we'll just print the inner message. But we use inner.sInnerMessage to get to that sInnerMessage, which is the variable member that's in our inner class, as you can see here. So they work the same, except they have different data, and of course the outer class contains the inner class. So they do have a relationship. So in our outer class constructor, all we're going to do is say, hey, I'm the outer class, and then we're going to just make this variable, this dot sOuterMessage is going to equal this string. We don't need the parens there. So this dot sOuterMessage is just going to set this variable here. So this is a keyword that allows us to, when working within our methods within our class, this allows us to reference the members of that class, saying that this is what we're contained in. We're contained in outer class, so this is actually just outer class. And that's going to be something like outerclass.sOuterMessage, except you're using this to reference that. And we've explained that before. So in our inner class, we do the same thing, inner class constructor, where we initialize. We're going to say, hey, I'm the inner class, and then we're going to say the same thing, this.sInnerMessage. It's not going to reference outer class. It's going to reference what contains that method, and that's the inner class. So innerclass.sInnerMessage or this.sInnerMessage. And we just set that variable. And then in the print, we do a couple of other strange things. First, we're just going to say, hey, we're going to instantiate an outer class from within the inner class, because that's exactly what we're going to do. And that's going to allow us to get to that member variable, that field of our out class, our outer class. So we have to do that from the inner class and from the outer class, just putting that outside here, two different ways, in order to get to that data from the inner class and the outer class, just how it works. And just note where we say instantiate so you can see what's going on. So we'll debug. Well, you can see here instantiate an outer class is coming from the main, and then we're going to say I am an inner class and I am an outer class, because we actually create that inner variable there at the end of that outer class, and then that's going to also print this out because we're actually working with both constructors. Because we actually instantiate that inner class, this is what's going to happen as well. So we're doing both. And this is the ordering of how things go, as you can see. And then we're going to instantiate an inner class from the main. And of course, this is just going to do the inner, not the outer. And then when we print the outer class, we're going to say, well, my insight message, because we get that inside message. And then when we print from the inner class from main, you can see that we get that instantiate an outer class from within the inner class because we put that message where we actually instantiate that new object, and that object's getting instantiated within the print method. So that's where you get this again. And then look at this. Another inner class is started up, and then an outer class is started up. So you can see the functionality of what is actually going to be instantiated and why. Because this is going to get that outer class instantiated, but that's going to cause another inner class to be instantiated as well as the outer class. So it's looping around, but that's how it works. The computer can handle it. And then we're just going to print out the outside message variable, and we're all done. So you can see the functionality. It's very powerful, but it has its limitations as far as how you can reference things, and it has more advanced functionality as well. You just want to keep an eye on things, and this is how it works.